Good morning, everybody. I want to do a little update. I've kind of been putting them off a little bit. I'm going to post, this will go up like within an hour, but I'm going to post a little teaching thing for those videos that went up last night. I'm going to call it Another Day. I already have it written. I wanted you to share that. I'll do a few updates, realizing that when I repost these over the years, I know they're not as, I'm trying to make them, valuable for whenever we see them. So this talks about manipulation. But the thing I want to talk about is the $400 million payment made to Iran. This is the month of August of 2016. And back in the 1970s, Iran had a particular, I didn't even, look, I'm just showing you what's in the news. But they had a lawsuit against the U.S. We owed them so many, billions of dollars is what they claimed. And the United States, since all that time, has never agreed, to give money. And as far as I know, from the 1970s, up until 2016. It's important to understand we never paid on that, the so-called money we owed Iran. Now, from what I'm understanding, we agreed in the most recent agreement we had with Iran, which is called the Nuclear Accord. We agreed we might pay on it, but we still never paid. So from the 1970s, just look at it this way. If I owed you money, or you said I owed you money, and I didn't pay you that money for 45 years, and I just said, no, I'm not going to pay you. And then one day, you took 3 of my kids hostage. You kidnapped 3 of my kids. And I swore to the public, I will never let you I will never pay ransom to you. Ever. I swear that. And then all of a sudden, you took my kids, and the news reported the next week, the man who kidnapped John's 3 children returned those children. And then the reporters come to interview me. They say, that is amazing, John. How did you work that out? I said, I have a relationship now with these new kidnappers, Iran. And because we have a real good working relationship, many people have criticized me for this working relationship with Iran, quote, Nuclear Accord. Many people have criticized my Secretary of State, John Kerry, for sort of like kowtowing to them. And when they kidnapped my kids and put it on TV and made them look like imbeciles, we got a lot of criticism. But sure enough, because of our good working relationship with the kidnappers, they released my kids. And if I said that to you, and then a week later you found out that I paid those kidnappers on an old debt that they claimed I owed them, which I never paid on for 45 years. But all of a sudden I happened to make a payment of $400 million on the exact same day that the kidnapper released my children. And then you would think that the truth would simply be payment was made, and maybe I did not call that payment ransom, but it's quite obvious to everybody that the payment was sped up because it was not paid on for 45 years, and $400 million was paid on the day my children were released. It's quite obvious, and that's a culture in Iran, that you pay, even in the deaths of people in war. The way their culture is, you make restitution. And we've actually made payments to families that we've accidentally killed family members in our various wars, and the U.S. has actually made cash payments because they see that in some of that culture as doing the just thing. So this is what happened for those. Now, this is what happened, okay? And I pray for you, Mr. Obama, your wife and your kids. But when you were asked, the president was asked, it sure looks suspicious. And the president almost made it look like, almost mocked anybody who understands the truth of it. There is no doubt. I'm not saying it was wrong what he did, but there is absolutely no doubt. There is zero doubt that President Obama agreed to pay the Iranians $400 million on an outstanding, quote, debt that was not paid on for 45 years, and payment was made the day they had, for those that don't watch the news, Iran took our soldiers, our sailors hostage a few months back. It was a big thing because one of our ships in the Persian Gulf went into Iranian waters. And the reason was it was a mistake, but that ship, that boat, U.S. boat, military was behind, and they had some motor problems, engine problems, so they cut across, and the Iranians captured, and they mocked our men, they mocked our soldiers, they showed it on TV. It was very disgraceful. It was an international incident, but then they released those hostages. And it wasn't until this past week that Congress found out that a $400 million payment was made by President Obama to Iran. And and the president said when he was questioned on it, he said, it's obvious this had nothing to do with the release of the hostages. But that's not true. Do you understand? That's not true. It would be much better to speak truth. And I understand the president has many political enemies. And many of you who are Democrats right now and liberals, you know that is not true. That it had nothing to do with the release of those hostages. But maybe you justify it, and I could justify it, by simply saying, well, we maybe agreed that we were going to start paying on it. Maybe we did. And it just so happened payment was made that day. Now, what did the media do? Trump said he saw a video of the plane landing on that day, taking the money to pay them. What Trump saw was a video, but it wasn't of that. So what the media did, the media said, look how false this story is. What story? The media said, look how false. Look at Trump and all of those idiots that, are supporting Trump. They actually thought a plane landed on the day of the release of the hostages in Iran, and they actually thought that the Iranians released them because the plane landed that day with $400 million. And the media mocked it. But John, did a plane land that day with $400 million and they waited for the plane to land before they released those hostages? Yes. Then how could the media make it look like that because Trump was speaking about a different plane? It would almost be like saying, they executed my children on that day. And then I saw another video somewhere else. And I said, oh, look, that's executing them. And then it was a wrong video. And the media would come out and say, look how wrong John is. He thought they executed his children because he saw a video. But the question would be, did they? The reality and fact is, Iran released those military hostages, our men, because they agreed, the U.S. and Obama agreed, we will pay them $400 million. That's just truth. If you're a Democrat, that's truth. If you're a Republican, that's truth. You see, our lies, and I'm not saying it was so wrong, and I'm sure the deal was made behind the scenes that we have to settle this, and that was a way that the Obama administration maybe thought we can do it, Congress won't work with us for sure on this, and we did it. But don't lie about it. The media also reported, this is how the World News reported that story. It said, the same month that the hostages were released, a payment was made that was agreed upon back all the way in the 70s. Okay, so the media said the same month that the hostages were released, sort of like just coincided that there was an old debt. Now the media didn't say the same day, that one particular World News. So the media could have said the same year President Obama paid $400 million. That's manipulation. Because the question isn't, did it happen the same month? The question is, it happened the same day. Which means the truth is, the president is saying it wasn't ransom, okay. But obviously, there was an agreement made that this money that we have never paid you on, Iran, that you claim we owe you, that we made an agreement that we're going to actually pay that, we're going to settle it, but it just so happened it came that day. It was quid pro quo. Don't lie. Don't lie. I told you in a recent video or a recent teaching, I said, very soon, I believe that in Syria, the U.S. is going to finally wind up backing out. Assad is going to remain in power unless he gets assassinated. And Syria and Russia are going to have a stronghold together in Syria. Just yesterday, something was said by the president, and I said the way the president and the United States will play it will be, we will basically back down, like we're doing with China, which I'm agreeing to back down with China, because that's not our fight about the China Sea. But we're publicly saying we will not back down. We're publicly saying, and the president made a statement yesterday. I saw, I think it was PBS News, something to the effect of, well, that's their, problem, and when we eventually back out of Syria, which I think we should, that's their ball game, and the media will portray it in that way. But the truth of the story should be Russia and Syria have another position than we take. Our position that we're taking in our activities in Syria is opposed to the position that Russia and Assad are taking. And we have been saying for a year now, with all the deaths and the crisis going on in Syria, we have been saying our position is right and our position will prevail and theirs will not. But now it's going to go the other way. And the media should simply say, okay, what we were doing there, whether we felt it was right or wrong, we are now backtracking, but the media won't report it that way. It's just beginning to happen, like I said. The media is going to begin reporting, we did everything right. So manipulation, it would be much better to speak truth. It would be much better to speak truth. There are people, I've watched some cases recently, there are people that would prefer to die than to speak truth. Even in cases, I've seen some legal cases, even in cases where there's false accusation, and then later it's exposed, man, you made a false accusation against this person, you said the ex-husband raped your children because you were going through divorce. A lot of those happen. And then later it's found out, there's one here of people I knew. Then later the daughter says, no, my mother made me lie. That mother, if she's confronted, wait a minute, did you make your 6-year-old lie because you were going through a divorce? She would they will go to their grave holding to that lie. They will go to their manipulation and lying. And when you do it on a scale like I just explained, It's a bad thing. Okay? It's a wicked thing. It would be much better to say, look, we did give a payment to Iran. It would be much better to just be honest. Trump screwed up because he said, I thought I saw the plane that landed. He didn't see the plane that landed. He saw something else, another plane. And the media said, therefore, a plane never landed. Therefore, $400 million was never paid. Therefore, the whole story's fake. No, actually, a plane did land. Iran did wait for the $400 million. And the media, talking heads, are going to get us into World War III. Are you still on that? Look, they're positioning themselves. China's doing live fire, shooting live rockets into China Sea, basically telling the U.S., you keep pushing us into China Sea, we're going to shoot you down. And Russia, when they had their second helicopter shot down by rebels in Aleppo about a week and a half ago, immediately, look at manipulation. Immediately, the rebels on the ground who are terrorists, the rebels on the ground said, Assad released chemical weapons. And our media reported it that way. Did Assad release chemical weapons? I seriously doubt it. Because what happened was a Russian plane, a Russian helicopter was shot down in Aleppo, in Syria, by rebels who the U.S. arms and supports. And if that plane was shot down, why would Assad go in and use chemical weapons? Chemical weapons. And there's in the military community, there is a disagreement on whether or not the rebels themselves, who have also chemical weapons, whether or not they are doing it in order to provoke, to play the U.S. Do you understand? And when the media reported, Assad used chemical weapons, the media is trying to back up the president's position that let's go in and kill Assad. We see Russia, the media is not stupid. And they see behind the scenes what I'm telling you is true, that Russia and Assad look like their position is going to win and we're going to back out. So immediately the media started saying, well, I guess the president, he swore if chemical weapons are used, they want him to just go in and shoot Assad, bomb him. That's what the media wants, because they want their side to win. And you say, John, have we ever been manipulated into a real war that cost the lives of a million people? Some estimates 1 million died. Yes, we have. When we had the Iraq War, and also Tony Blair, Prime Minister of Great Britain at the time, when we justified that war, and Colin Powell went before the world and said, we have documentation showing that Saddam Hussein is attempting to buy yellow cake and certain things of chemical weapons and all these other things. That was Gaddafi. But when Saddam Hussein, we said we're going to go in and start a war in Iraq, which we did, some of the intelligence was later shown to be fake intelligence. Look, the people in that part of the world are not stupid. There's opposition in the world, and what they try to do is get the U.S. to get involved in certain things. And so they even produce fake intelligence, making it look like it's coming from Iraq or Saddam Hussein, and we're trying to obtain a particular weapon of mass destruction. Some of that was fake. So they're smart to get us to go in. And maybe Bush and others, even if they knew it was fake, they wanted to go in for their other motivations and did it. That's all manipulation. That's all manipulation. And so yes, it's possible that an opposition fighter on the ground in Syria would have released some chemical weapons on the day that they shot down a Russian helicopter, which was about 2 weeks ago. Because they would immediately know, it looks bad on us that we did it with U.S. weapons, and so let's release chemical weapons. And there are those in the intelligence community, liberals, not just conservatives, who believe that's what the rebels are doing. Because they all do that. They all try to manipulate intelligence. They all try to do that, to get us to do their bidding. So the thing about the 400 million, the truth is, yes, we didn't do it exactly as a ransom, but we made an agreement. How about the payments that you say we owe you, Iran, for 40-something years, which we have not paid on a penny? How about we make the first installment of 400 million, and they waited for the money to get there. The day the money got there, that's the day our men were released. And the media is making it look like all of that is a lie. And the media reported on the same month a payment was made. No, the same day. That's manipulation. And if you're a Democrat and a liberal, you say my principles, which I hold liberal views in many ways. You say, but John, my principles are so right that it justifies our side manipulating. That's that's arrogance. That's arrogance. I don't think any side has got the answer to this situation, the things that are going on. But that's arrogance. And it would be better to be honest about everything that's going on. It would be better to say, yes, in the campaigns, look, Trump is a wild card in the sense of, but you could find people, and the media continues to come out with articles or interviews of people who say, even people off the street. The guy from Scotland who had a golf deal. I don't think we can trust. You know how many women would say that Hillary, they can't stand her, especially the ones that her husband violated? Why doesn't the media go ask Monica Lewinsky if, look, she agreed to do something? It's an amazing thing that there's been only one candidate that ever ran for president who's actually married to another spouse who also was a president once and was impeached. And yet, all of that seems to be no baggage. Your spouse was also president. I'm not a hater of Bill Clinton. So you got a top candidate running whose spouse also was on the campaign trail speaking up, who was impeached because he had oral sex by Monica Lewinsky in the Oval Office, which leaders of companies, Roger Ailes, Fox, you lose your job, even if because that's considered something that you have power over people under you. And if you use that influence, even if the younger person in their 20s maybe was agreeing to give oral sex to the president, but yet you have a certain position. Teachers in this part of the country, these cases I see all the time. There might be a teacher that's 25 that went out with a student who's even an adult, maybe 18, but there's a law because you have a certain degree. It's against the law in our state. Don't know if every. So the president did things of that nature. I don't hate Bill Clinton. But for that to not even be an issue, for that to be, we forgive everybody. But you want to talk about, you want to bring up issues, bring up issues. You want to tell the truth on a story, tell the truth. What I gave you was the truth. The president, yes, he will never call it a ransom because it was simply an agreement that we would make the first installment of that payment of $400 million. And then, and only then, would they release our men, which is much like ransom payment. But the media made it look like, how dare anybody ever think that a $400 million payment to Iran on the very day they released our soldiers who were disgraced publicly in the media. And the media said, how dare anybody ever think that had anything to do with it? And so it's a lie. It had everything to do with it. Just speak truth. Is that even possible? Okay, so that's the update. How long did I go? 24 minutes. And for the future, when you all see these, you say, this doesn't make sense to us. Well, when you look back and say, wow, they really were screwed up back in that era, then this is a little insight. I wish there was a little more light I could show you. I varnished my polyurethane, my thing. I want to bless all you guys. Look, the little teachings. I got a few videos coming up the next few days. I'm going to post something else right now along with this, or after this. So we're kind of going with the theme, finishing the book of Samuel, or going through the book of Samuel, doing a little more on John. And the theme, and Hebrews and all, the theme though is God. God has a purpose predestined. I read Psalms last night. I liked it, in Zechariah 8. It was a good chapter, but God said in the Psalms, how many times to his people did you disobey? And time after time you disobeyed, and God says, and I let it slide, and I let it slide, and I let it slide. But I had a friend that just died the other day. Christian person involved in Christian ministry, but had issues. And I felt the Lord was saying, like, this year, a lot of things you can't get away with stuff that maybe people, God had said in that psalm I was reading, I think Psalm 78, said, but now finally I had to, it says, God gave them their desires, the lusts of when they asked for meat, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? When the children of Israel were going through the wilderness, and God gave them meat, and he said, I gave them their desire, but I judged them. When the meat was in their mouths, God provided a bunch of birds for them, because they were eating manna every day, okay? History of the wilderness. And then Zechariah 8, I like this one. God said, I judged my people, so later I could restore them. And when I restore my city, there will be old men and women in the streets and kids playing. Zechariah 8. And it says, and it'll be such a wonderful community again when I restore my people, my city. And God says this, and if it's so wonderful, and if it's marvelous in the eyes of all that see it, what God's doing, God says, how much more marvelous will it be in my eyes? God is saying, oh, I like to see what I'm doing with my people. I like to see it. How much more is our perspective what God's doing with you in your life? And you're excited, which is okay, because others could see what God's doing. God's saying, how about the perspective that I also am excited about what I am doing in restoring my people and my city? If it's marvelous in the eyes of the remnant, those who remained after the storm, how much more marvelous is it in my eyes? So that's God's, to have that divine perspective. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and are set aloft. The Lord carried me away in the spirit into a great and high mountain. To a great and high mountain. So let's have that perspective. This video is not intended to be pro-Trump, or anti-Hillary, or it's just speak truth. No matter who you are, just speak truth. Just speak truth. Don't be on such a, how dare anybody ever dare to say we did what we did. How dare anybody ever think that we did what we did. Why? That's inherent in us. How dare the woman that, my friend, she falsely accused her ex of molesting her child. And if that's not exactly true, which I believe it is, from everything I heard, there's many others. And when you get those mothers, and 20 years later, and they will die before they would admit, yes, I did that. They will die first. They would prefer to die with that lie. They will die and go to their grave saying, I never accused my ex of molesting my daughter. And they prefer to live their life and die of natural causes than to admit it, than to just simply say it. It says mouths are like open graves. All right, so the Lord, I'll end it with something profitable. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. The Lord be gracious unto you, and the Lord give you peace. God bless.